Welcome to Factorio Masterclass. My name is Nilaus, and we are continuing on our series of masterclasses for Space Age. And today we come to the big step in that is going to be the hub, the central manufacturing hub to sort of build all the things we want for the base. This is for our starter base on NAUVIS, so it includes things up to and including blue signs, but nothing beyond that. So there's no beacons, there's no yellow assemblers, and there's no blue belts in this this hub. And I call it a hub, I call it a manufacturing hub. Some people call it a mall. I don't like that term, but that's just my pet peeve, because for me, a mall is a suburban hellhole where teenage girls hang out, while a manufacturing hub is the center of a logistics operation. And you know, which one do I have in my base? I have a logistics hub. So that's what we have here. This is our logistics hub. And what I've done is I have marked all of these things in blue. These are the things that we want to make. And the things in gray here are the things that we have chosen, or I have chosen, that I don't want to make. And I'll just sort of briefly go through, and I've kind of categorized them into different things. So like trains and fluids and nuclear and belts and inserters and combinators and logistics, or I guess power balls, production and defense. And there's some of the things that we don't want to do. All the things down here, we are not going to do that, because that is later on. It also uses primarily blue circuits, low density structures, and electric engines. None of those we want on our hub. And we have some flame turrets that I don't like anymore, and laser turrets, we'll build them somewhere else because they need batteries, and I don't want that on my bus. The stone furnaces, we don't really want them because, well, I also have a limited amount of space, so I have to do some prioritization. I want wood on the base, and I don't want the basic power, because, you know, you only need a fixed amount. At least that one is not it. That one we actually will make, but it's something else that we want. Oh yeah, it's the display panel we don't make, and also the underground or the offshore pumps. We don't need that many of those. So that's what we will do in this, and some things that we have to deselected to make. And when we look at something else, let me see if I can come up with it. There we go. This is one way to make it, and this is something that is enabled in Space Age, because now you can set filters on your assemblers, and then they can sort of make all the stuff that you can command as a sushi belt, and you can monitor this whole sushi belt, and you can put it in here. And this looks super cool, and it's something that probably will farm some Reddit points, karma there, but that's not what I want. This is something that has been built by the community, particularly Callow Ether and Mark de Jonge has been feverishly working on this, and it works absolutely brilliant. However, there are a couple of reasons why I don't want to use this. If you are interested in this, come to my Discord and hang out in the Factorio channel. That's where these kind of things are being shared and developed. But the reason why I don't want this is because I have a really tough time explaining how it works. Even if I understand what it works, it's really difficult to explain it. It also has this issue that there are a lot of edge cases that will sort of make it perform a little bit weird. And sometimes it can jam, and it's also really inconsistent in the terms of sort of, what is it actually doing? Like, why is it not working? If it stops working, then why? For example, now it's making 2 of these dedicated to engines. Is that correct? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I can see that the engines are being used here. And there's a lot of circuits here. So I'm not going to go into this. I'll just put it into the blueprint book so that you can play with it, and if you want to do it yourself. But this is just an example of saying, yeah, I could do this, but that's not really what I like. I like belts. I like more clean designs, and therefore that's what we're going to do. So we're going to be getting a test location here, and I'm going to show you how we are going to build it. I'll build the hub in 2 different versions, one with yellow belts and steel boxes, and then another one with red belts and logistics boxes. So first things first is we need to sort of determine how are we going to get all of these things in here. That means we need to figure out a way to get stuff in, and it's going to be really, really compact. Let's see if I can get this in here, because I want to show you the new way that we're going to be building this that is different from how we built it previously. And this one, that's now 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. This one goes up and potentially like there. Yes, so that's good. So this is going to be like one hub. I can't build several of these. You can see that that's no room for it. But if I do, here we want 4 belts inbound. There, there, and there. And then we'll have 2 belts here. And then here, here, and here, and then a single belt in. these go here, here. So this is the absolute maximum number of inserters or assemblers that we can reasonably expect to get in here in a single one of our new city blocks. So this kind of sets the upper limit of how many and also why we have to descope some things. I mean, I'd love to make offshore pumps, but you know, just not available. Just now, no more room. And what I'm going to do here is I am going to pre-allocate some of this here with gears. Lots of things need gears, and some people might put gears on the bus. That is totally fine. I don't do that. And these two will be, where are they? Yeah, pipes. And then we're just going to make sure that we can actually see what's going on. So we're going to be putting just one of these down here so that we actually don't get the no power indication. Right, so let's have a look at how many we have. We have up here, we have 20 plus those two, so it's 22 locations available for build. Here we have 15, and and here we also have 15. So we now need to split all of these into blocks that fit. So the first thing is anything that requires, do I like this location? Not really. I want to put it one over as well, just there. I think that's better because then I can put it here. So anything that requires coils has to be in the middle. So this requires coils, that has to be in the middle. And what else? The combinator parts reach coils, so that has to be in the middle. Then we are going to say the stuff that only needs gears, not pipes at all, should be in the bottom. That means this part should be here. There we go. And that means all the stuff that needs pipes, this part, has to be up top. And then we're also going to be put you up top and you up top. And then we start seeing how much we actually have. This part is 19. We also have to think about, well, this I can take out because I already have it down here. That means we now up down to 18. Oops, here. Then we have to consider that I need engine units here. So I'm going to be allocating a one dedicated one for engines. Then I also have sticks. We can request it here. And also here. So I need another one for sticks as well. That means now we have 20 up here, so I can put 2 more in this one. This here also needs sticks. So for sticks, and there, sticks. So that one has to be in here. And that means this one is now up to 10 out of 15. So let's put some more. Let's put this in here. That's now 14 out of 15. And this here, we have here requesting stone bricks, and we have you requesting stone. So anything that's stone and stone bricks should be up on the top. That means these two now go up on the top. And that means we have the 22 we want on the top level or on the top section. This one is the 14 out of 15. So I can put one more in. And I think that'll be, yes, that one, because that's copper, and we have copper in here. And that means the last bits we want is going to be down here. There. So now we have 3 bits of 15 each. 15 here, and 22 here. Let me put that in, and so we can start on the routing. So this is the placement, and I've indicated all of the dependencies between different locations, such as sticks going into stations and rails, liquid tanks going into the liquid tank wagon, the pipes going into the underground pipes, the engines going into pumps and locomotives. Here we have sticks going into the medium power poles, the large power poles, and also the noisemakers. The steel chest is going into the storage chest and the provider chest. Here we have the yellow belts going, of course, into the splitters and undergrounds, but also sort of progressing onto the red ones. Here we have the yellow ones, yellow inserters going into red inserters, into blue, and the blue going into green. And here we have the gray assemblers going into the blue assemblers. So all those things are dependencies, and therefore they have to be built next to each other. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you the way that it works. And this is, we're going to be using these. When you see these purple things, that is because I'm using a mod called Editor Extended. And it is really good for sort of just making things work here. Like simulating things such as the production of this without having a full base going. And it'll just make it a lot easier. And that's also why we can build and delete instantly. So it works really well for workshopping and for tutorials. Right, so what we want to do, and what I want to show you how this actually works, is that it's actually going to be a little bit of a different way of approaching this than from we've done before. There. And also there and here. Okay, so I'm going to get iron in here. That goes up and goes up. So I'm going to get iron inbound here. And then out. Good. So we are now getting the gears out on this bus. And then what we want to do is, or what we have now an option is, how do we get it in here? Well, we do that with these splitters. So basically we can set a splitter up or down, up or down. That means that for any location we can actually service. If I put it down, then I can service these two. If I put this one down, then I can service these two. So I can service either the top and the bottom, the 4 top ones, or the 4 bottom ones. But I can't service all 6 of them with the stuff here, which is something we'd have to keep in mind a little bit. But we can both do it before and after. So there's always like an opportunity for how to do this. For example, this is the easiest thing in the world to do that. So then we also have to say, okay, well, do you need gears? No, you don't need gears. So I can basically just look at this part here and just say, okay, well, where is it I want it? Oops, not like that. This one, you don't need anything here. Well, I can put it here. We'll put these like this so they sort of close off. That one, like that. And then I also need some iron inbound. And the iron inbound, I can then take it, branch it off from here. I'm only branching it off from the one side and here. I like that. Inbound and inbound. So you got all that you want. You got all you want there. And you are getting all you want as well. Great. So now we need to put everything into output boxes. That is going to be, we'll take these out because they're not actually going to be working like that. We'll put an output box. And for now, I'm just going to make a single stack. This is something I will definitely come back to later on. There and there. And then, yes. And that will go in here, here, and here. And then I'll go here for those outbounds. Great. So now I need to figure out, okay, these are all working and they are putting in here. So now I just need to work on the next one. You need gears up here. So I'm going to put that here. And I'm going to kind of do this, just kind of following up on a pattern here. You need that. So I'm going to put that here. Remember, this one here, this lower belt has 4 inputs, while the top one only has 2 input for gears. So there should be more on the lower belt and more available here. That one. I'm going to deliberately leave this empty. I'm even going to go so far as to do this, because I know that I'll need this space in the middle for power poles and even lights as well. So we'll keep that kind of empty. This is going to be our spot for power poles later on. That is going in, that is making, that's working. You are going to need gears from here. Do you need gears? Yes, you do, but that you can get that from this location. So that should make it work here. Let's make this one work, this one doesn't work. Cool. So we can sort of move on and look at the next one. You need gears, but you don't have it. So that means I'll have to get that in from there. So that's the gears coming in, the iron coming in. I can take the iron. Well, we're going to be getting it up here. And actually, I'm going to get it here. You also need iron, and you don't need iron. So we'll get those iron in here and iron in here, and that should work. So you got everything you want, except for the green circuits. And the green circuits, this is why I'm going to get it in here. And like this, I guess. In. You're just missing gears, which is coming from that location, so that's not a problem. And then we need an output box here, and an output box here. And you're going to be an output box because you also need to move further into the red inserters. And the red inserters need here. And what else do you need? You need some iron. That's just going to be here. That one. And the iron comes in and then get out in a box. So you're happy. You're happy, and you are not quite happy because there's just nothing flowing in here. But it should be flowing in here. Yeah, this is just a shortage. That's kind of what you'd expect when building these kind of things. Let's move on. You need some green circuits. That's coming from here. And I hope that it makes sense now that with how this works. I am going to do that here. And get that. This is going to be a little bit different, I guess. Can I do that? There and there. These two need their gears. So you have your gears as well. And that means I can get you out. On a box. Yes. And could you then be in a box like this? Yes, you can. Yeah, we're really short on iron in here, but that's kind of how it works. We'll get it eventually. That means I am not getting gears in here. I need to get gears from this location into here, and then it's actually a little bit tricky because here I actually need to get it like that, because there's now everything needs gears. As you can see here, everything needs gears. You get gears inbound, you get iron inbound, and you get greens inbound, and then you can get a box out here with radars. Perfect. I don't want an output on this one, and then I just grab that down here. So input, you are happy, and then I should also have steel up here. The only thing that requires steel, and it will also get copper as well. So, no, that's the other way around. There. It's a small thing, but it's something I know that later on I'm going to need it. And that one, and I will just get a little box. So you're going to get the steel, and you're not going to get that. That's because this one's not here. Only thing missing is here. You're getting inbound, you're getting inbound, and then the inbound here, and then a box. So now you can really see how this is coming along. That is how it works for all of it. And it's actually no more complicated for the other ones. It's just that it's a little bit different, but not much different. But this is the idea. The core of this idea and why it works is the fact that you can slide this up or down. So let's prepare the next one and then hook that up. So now we have the next one ready to go, and we're just going to be looking at it as we fire it up. So here the difference is that we're using the same principle, going over and under, sort of branching it in, swapping these two between going up and then going down and then going up and going down, and just basically just flipping it back and forth with ups and downs for these splitters here. And here we are going to be focused more on gears, but also on the coils. And the coils come in on both sides, half sides here. That means that we have coils available on both of the middle belts and also gears available on both of the middle belts. And it goes in here. The one thing that's a little bit different is we only have iron coming up to this location, and that means we take the red and the green going around and going back and going down here, because it's actually easier than sort of trying to merge it up here and then kind of going through. And that means we can squeeze in the iron there, which is going to be needed for the last thing. None of this over here needs iron because it's a little bit more complex things. And we can just see that if things are coming along nicely, I think they are. Let's see here. You are missing some greens. Why are you missing some greens? Oh, it's just because everything else before that is just eating the greens. The greens are coming in here. So this will work, and it gets us the next one. And then what we can do is we can sort of set up the last one, which is, again, the idea is going to be the same. These ones are coming in here to make consolidated belts going down here. And then they'll be sliding either down or up, depending on what is needed. And that's basically the principle of it. And then will kind of go. The one thing with this one is that I actually need iron, a little bit of iron for these, and a little bit of iron here. The last bit of iron is coming into that and that and that. So up here we need iron. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something like, something like this. And that will be like iron in here for these. And then I'd have to figure out a way to merge this up and down. But let's get these things in and see how it works when we fire it up. And so the third one is being ready to go. So I'm hooking this up and then we'll see how it flows in. The green and red is pretty simple. It just goes in. Some of the places here, I'm actually just grabbing it from the lower ones. These two locations. It's easier than getting it all the way from the top. Then let's see what else. The stone and stone bricks go in on this line, which is then dedicated just these items here. That one, that one, that one, that one. And yeah, those 4 are needing that. So that's where this one goes in and then it stops. The concrete only goes in and it only has 2 locations that it needs to go into, but it also needs them in high quantity. So that's where they're going. This is something you can add later on when you want nuclear, because until you need nuclear, you don't really need concrete coming in here. I'm also not making reinforced concrete because that's something I don't need until I get off NAUVIS. Then the most complicated one is, of course, the iron one. As I said, this is coming in and it's go all the way down here, goes beyond, and then it merges together with the steel belt. The steel belt and iron belt coming up, and then it sort of feeds into some of these things. This needs iron, this needs iron, and then the iron comes in here, here, and here, which obviously is going to take a little bit of time before it gets there, but it will definitely get there. So this is now the overall design for a hub that is using yellow belts and steel boxes. I have meticulously designed it so you don't need any red belts here, which took a little bit of extra effort. And then you just need to feed it in from the bus, which we of course will do as well. Then what we want to do from here is actually a couple of things. First, we need to get power poles and lights in here, and as we do that, we'll also see that the rest of the boxes will fill up. This is incredibly nice design in terms of getting the power poles. The power poles are actually absolutely perfectly placed. If we look at it here, perfectly placed, perfectly spaced here as well. And on top of that, all of the lights are put in at exactly the correct location. It is just absolutely beautiful. Love this design. But there's more to it, because this will work just fine, but I actually want something to make it a little bit cooler here. One of the things that I was thinking is that if I'm going to be setting up how much you want to produce of each item, then I'm bound to get it wrong based on what I think is needed and what you think is needed, and also at different times of build. Maybe you don't want to build trains on NAUVIS. Maybe you don't want to build nuclear on NAUVIS. Maybe you really want to build a lot of trains, so you need a lot more. Maybe you want to transition to red belts before I do. Maybe you want to make don't want to use the stack inserters, bulk inserters, but just want to make do with it. Whatever. So me defining it up front how much you should have is going to be bound to be not matching what you want. And it's also the transition of, in the beginning you want a lot of yellow belts and a little bit of red belts, and then it's, at some point when you have enough iron, you want all the red belts and only a modest amount of yellow belts. So what could I do? Well, I could take and monitor every single one of these boxes and simply put it in here, monitor into the boxes, and that one, and these are connected, and then here, and it's simply going around here, just collecting. First, we're going to make a green circuit grid here on that little sub hub, and then these are all going to be hooked in to. I'm going to take it in where they are, where this one is belonging to, and let's see here. That one, and you are going to be there, and so on. So once I hook up all of this, you can see now that we can use the green signal to monitor what is there. Let's do that. So now we're monitoring everything on this green wire, and what we can do now is we can set up a request or a box, let's see, like this, where we simply illustrate all the things that we want in this one. So we could say, okay, we need some of these, maybe like 800, and so on and so forth. That takes a little bit of time, and I want to sort of group it into different categories. So let's set that up and see how we can use that to manipulate the numbers here. This is now a list of all the things that I think in reasonable quantities, and you can then deselect, for example, I've set all the blue science products in a separate location, so that you don't start trying to build those in the beginning. Doesn't really matter, but just kind of illustrate it here. If you say, I don't want to make trains, so then you don't waste a lot of steel and stuff on this one, or if you don't want to make something else, or if you want to change the amounts, then you can flip these on and off as you see fit. Then you can also change it as you sort of, for example, transition from using steel furnaces. Then you can lower the steel furnace and then turn up the electric furnace if that's what you want. But once we have these two, then we can actually combine it by using a calculator. And let's see. So that will be, we'll take this on the red wire inbound and we take the amount here on the green wire. So now what we can do is we can say, it gets a little bit very, very simple, these locations. This takes, basically says for each. So for each thing, each product here, we are going to compare the red versus the green wire. So we basically take the red wire, that is how much we want, minus the green wire, which is how much we have currently. And then we get out here. So if we have a positive number now, that means that we still want more than what we have. So what we can do is we can then send that signal out, back out here, to tell all of the assemblers to work or not work. However, you can't use the assemblers for this. We can set assemblers up to wire condition or to circuit conditions like so, and then they can sort of be enabled. And basically in this case, it would be enabled such that it would say this one is greater than 0. Perfect, right? Perfect. However, there's a few places where this will not be applicable. For example, here, if I stop the yellow belt construction based on I have enough in this box, then I won't be sending any more out here to the splitter or to underground, and then it'll get stuck. So anytime we have an output into multiple different locations, or an output where it goes, for example here, if I stop the steel chests based on the fact that I have enough steel chests, then I'm not going to make any storage chests here. So in that case, I'm going to be not constraining. So this is not how I will constrain it. I will instead constrain it on the outbound side. The advantage of generally using assemblers is, for example, with the good old nuclear power plants, you can see how much they put inside here. Plus, it will always put 2 out here, plus basically enough products for 2 additional here. That means that it's a hell of a lot of resources that we are wasting in here to just fill up this box. So in this case, it's much better to constrain the assembler than it is to constrain the output inserter. But some cases we can't constrain the output inserter. This also means, that, of course, that I need to get a red wire to hook up all these things, and then I need to control it not by the size of the box, but simply by the condition here. So let's set that up and see how that works. Now I have restarted the hub, and this time it's going to be exclusively guided by how much is needed here, which means we'll just let it run for quite a while. We can see how little is actually put into the boxes yet, and as more gets put into the boxes, then the amount that is still required is reduced. So this one will go. So what is the next step? Well, now that means we have a singular location. This also means that if you are sitting at base and you're thinking, I wonder if my hub is actually working. Is it lacking? Is it sufficient? Then all you need to do is just hover here, and then you can see on the red circuit here, which is the top one. That's why we put it on the red one. The red one here is telling you what is still needed to be built in the hub. So if there's something that just is still at a full stack, then maybe you're missing something coming in, maybe concrete, maybe stone bricks or something is coming in, and therefore you can easily spot what is missing instead of looking through all the boxes. I think that's pretty nice little thing. So now the second transition of this is switching all this to red belts and switching all of these inserters here, or these boxes, to yellow boxes, the logistics boxes, and setting up filters, which is just a simple little thing to everything has now been updated, so they now have red belts, and we have the storage chest here, and each of them have a filter, so that's good. Now we do need to now we are switching to logistics network. That means we should not be comparing what we want to build, this part, with what we have in the boxes, because there could also be something in another box that, for example, if we do that, where are they? there. Here. So now, for example, we are going to be constructing it because it still only monitors the boxes. We can't do that. That's not good. So what we need to do, and how I've designed it so it's super simple, I simply cut this off and then I connect it to the RoboPort. So now it's actually monitoring the content of all of the boxes, including this one, since it's in the same logistic network, versus what we want. And that means if we look here, we no longer have a build request for the mining drills, because even though they're not in this box, they are in that box. I think that's pretty neat, and it should work like this. It does have a little bit of a caveat here. There is a chance that you have all of your yellow belts in another box, and therefore they don't get built in here. This is why I use storage boxes, so that when you deconstruct yellow belts, they will be flying back here primarily. But do keep in mind that there is a slight chance that you have enough in here, but enough in the logistics network, but it's just not being able to be fed in here. So keep that in mind. That can be solved with buffer chest or requester chest later on. But that's the easy transition to going from box monitoring to be going to logistics network monitoring. Really simple, just a single green wire to change. All right, and that is actually the construction of this hub. I'm really proud of this. It's really cool, and such a cool effort of how it was built with the community input. And I should also name drop that the initial design that I'm basing this one on is made by a community member, the Nasero, and he has built this part, and I'm just kind of iterating it and made it change it to what I needed. But this idea of these narrow lines was coming from there. So these blueprints, the yellow one here with steel boxes, and the red belt one with logistics boxes, those are of course available as a blueprint in the blueprint box here, blueprint package here, and the same with the sushi belt that I've included for test purposes if you are inclined to continue some testing on that. And this is available to patron supporters. This is my little gift to the people who choose to support the channel monetarily, and that I will be wrapping up these nicely for you. If you are not a patron supporter, that's totally fine. This is why we build things on camera, so that you can build it yourself if you want to, but the additional convenience is reserved for patrons. So thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more, then be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. There'll be more masterclasses, and if you want to watch even more and be part of the design process, then come to Twitch. It's on Twitch.tv/Nilaus, where I'm streaming Factorio, and we are going to be doing these designs together. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care, and as always, stay effective.